On this week's episode of the K12 Tech Talk podcast, we talk about a controversial new law in Louisiana and a new private school in Texas that's replacing teachers with AI. Our main topic this week discusses the challenges of implementing cell phone bans during the school day. Thanks for listening. Live from the NTP studios, this is the K12 Tech Talk podcast. Ooh, tongue twister. This is episode, I don't know. What episode is this, guys?
What a mess.
I know. This is 225, episode 225. I am Josh, tech director here in Missouri with Chris, who is also a tech director in Missouri. Hi, Chris.
I am. Hello.
And Mark, who was a rather famous, or is a rather famous former tech director, CIO over on the East Coast.
He peaked.
He peaked. Wow. That's cool. It's all downhill from here is what he's saying.
Newfound glory.
Yeah. Wow. Chris, you want to say something about David over at NTP?
David, NTP, great guy. Check out if you Google search NTP, and not like the time thing.
Network
What's
time
that
protocol?
Yeah, it's not that. But if you Google search NTP cybersecurity, you're going to see all kinds of David Wren. And you can check them out. They're great for doing your SOC. And I know that from experience because they're watching my school right now. And I can jump on this and hang out with you guys and feel fine. I feel safe.
David has a rather robust email security product right now that he is selling and can help you if you're getting some spammy, fishy emails, business email compromise threats. Give David a holler and see what he can do for you. He's I've talked to a couple districts that have implemented that tool, and it is pretty darn amazing what it can do.
They like it.
Yeah, they really, really, really like it. So give David an email, dren, W-R-E-N, at ntp-inc.com. Come on, guys. Chris, you and I were talking before. We were talking before the episode. You and I both had loops in our network this week.
Yeah, I've had two. It's weird to unpack. One was actually our admin building went down at sometime early this morning or after midnight kind of thing. And it was on the port of our ISP into that building, how our network gets connected. And they ended up saying that they took fault. So I don't know if that means that some dude back at the ISP was plugging in some cables and something went sideways.
Yeah. Well,
what about you?
I have teachers moving around. Teachers are starting to come back. Secretaries are full-fledged. We had a teacher moving stuff around and looped the network through a phone. So that was fun. Took down a building. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but it happened to be during our meeting about our personal electronic device ban and how we were going to implement that. So I had to miss part of that meeting due to a network loop.
I had another one at a different building, and I told the guys, because it doesn't feel like a loop. It's too much to unpack here, but I said, boys, I think we're chasing after something. I feel like it's like teacher does something and then she left. And then she's going to come back and it's going to happen again is what it feels like. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So it's been a while since we had a loop, and I figured out this switch is a relatively newer addition to our network, and it didn't have loop protect on. So that was the
bummer.
Yeah. As soon as I turned it on, it identified the port. I'm like, there it is right there. So yeah, there's your lesson to turn on loop protect on your network.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I found reminded myself about today, and Mark, I think I texted you about, I texted the group about this. If you use Clever to integrate to Google Classroom and auto roster and auto create classrooms for your teachers and roster your kids, there is a auto archive feature built into that as well. Where you go into Clever and then Google roster sync and then settings, scroll down to the bottom. There is an archive old classrooms. Do that. I archived over 1,000 classrooms this afternoon in the span of about 10 minutes. So if you're doing that, it's a great way to clean up your active classrooms that are.
How'd that make you feel?
Nervous, because that's 1,000 classrooms that are getting archived. Thankfully, they're not deleted; they're just archived. But yeah, it's good to clean up that stuff. So if you haven't done it, go do it. Did you know about that, Chris?
No, I like stacks and stacks of things.
Yeah, I imagine your students love it. As far as they haven't complained, our students complain like when a teacher retires and doesn't archive their classes right away, like they complain about.
Are you saying that's within Clever?
It is within Clever.
That they see all their previous classes?
No, it's Google Class. Say I'm a student and I go to Google Classroom. If those classrooms aren't archived, they can see them there. So in Clever, as the administrator, you go to Clever, you go to Google Classroom Sync, scroll down, archive button.
I got a text message from a principal the other night. This is 9:15 p.m. Just a screenshot. This site cannot be reached, all that kind of stuff. And she's saying, "Oh, I'm trying to build the schedule. I can't get to the SIS. Any tips?"
Not know that you don't work there anymore?
I've been gone from this district for a year, over a year.
Yeah.
And the principals are still texting me after 9 p.m.
That's a riot. That's an absolute riot.
After 9 p.m. would upset me.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Not the fact that I've been gone for a year.
No.
Okay.
Was it okay? Here's a question: was it straight up? Here's the screenshot, or was there a like, "Hey, Mark, long time no see"? Was there any kind of anything before that?
Straight up screenshot.
Oh,
wow! At least ask about your dog.
It goes screenshot. What does this mean?
Wow. No, it wouldn't bother me that you'd been gone a year because you create relationships. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
The part that would bother me would be the 9:15 p.m. text.
I mean, that's early for me. I'm a late one. I know you're an early one, but
I'm passed out. Last night I went to bed at 8:30. Woke up at 4:00 this morning, but last night I was in bed sleeping at 8:30.
That's crazy.
There was something, I don't know what it was. I actually did try to troubleshoot, and I could definitely see that there was something going on with the network. So I text my old team. Not anything to help or anything like that. I just said I would just want you to know that people are still texting me when you guys are taking the system offline. So you're welcome.
Was it an intentional thing? Like they knew what was going on?
No, they just responded to me and laughed. I don't know what the problem was.
That's great.
Well, the response was even funnier because I said, I just want you to know that people are still texting me after hours when you guys have system issues. And the only reply I got was one word, good.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
Never ends.
Like one year later, like, and those folks are still the same as they were.
Yeah.
You still have a team that likes to jab you, and you still have the principal that wants immediate help.
Yes,
sure
this
do.
is the same team. Chris, what was it when we were visiting him? We were just meeting him for the first time in person. The signs that they put up all around the office. What was that? I don't remember what it said.
It was the buffalo picture.
It was the buffalo picture. I was thinking it was sailboat related, but yes, it was the buffalo picture.
Well, it was everything. So Josh and Chris came to visit me when I was in the district, and I brought them into the office. And when we got up there, the team had, while I was picking you guys up from the airport, the team had plastered the office with pictures of me on the buffalo and on a sailboat. And it was just, It was everywhere. And I was finding pictures like that for months. They had hidden them everywhere.
And the funny thing was, the buffalo picture was a picture that a listener took of Mark's face and put on like a mountain man photo of this mountain man riding a buffalo.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for being the butt of your jokes.
Hey, we traveled cross country.
Shout out listener Dan, by the way.
We traveled cross country for that joke to hit.
That's right.
That's funny. Mark, I think every week you come prepared. You never let us down.
Never.
You always have just titillating news ready for us. What do you have this week, Mark?
To be clear, I usually text you. I text you, hey, how about this topic? And then you never respond. So I just I guess I've got to prepare that topic.
I was giving you ideas all day, and both of you ignored me all day.
I apologize.
I don't.
And I'm not good at text.
You're not good at answering the phone.
I'm not a good friend.
You suck at answering the phone.
Sometimes
every time I call you, it goes to voicemail. And it makes me mad, and you do it on purpose.
That's Josh. I gotta let it go. calling back.
Jumping into the news, this is just a quick and positive update. We have talked about for weeks the federal funding pause. Well, right after we recorded last week and published the episode, the Trump administration released all of the federal funds that were currently frozen. So 5.8, I believe it is, $5.8 billion.
We tipped it, boys. We
did. I have a theory here. My rather strong language last week convinced them to release the funding.
Pretty full of pride theory.
There's no pride there.
I speak and government bows before me.
I didn't say that.
But
that and the
it is true.
Dozens of legislatures who on both sides of the party who said, "Hey, all right."
We were one of many that pushed. We tipped it.
We were the straw that broke the camel's back. Yes.
Mark, do you guys do the cow tipping thing your way?
No, I know what it is, but we don't do it. No, I mean we don't have cows.
More than one.
That's probably it. Is we don't have cows to tip.
Takes more than one.
You don't have cows?
Well, there's some cows in Vermont, but I mean it's not like you go to Massachusetts for cows.
Cows. Okay, carry on.
All right, this is an article I had to do more research and actually read the law itself because I just couldn't believe that this is true. But Louisiana is changing their law around special education and governance over special education classrooms. They are now going to require cameras in sub-separate special education classrooms. These are cameras that must record audio and video. So if you have a self-contained special education classroom that is majority of students receiving special education services for at least half the day, I mean, at least they kind of recognize that there are dual purpose rooms and stuff. Then you have to install a camera with audio and video recording. The camera schools have a little bit of time to implement this one, but this is a very, very restrictive law. And if you're a school district in Louisiana, you're going to need to have, I would say, flexibility to install cameras very, very quickly in different classrooms. So I think this is really pushing the envelope on both the technology and cost of this, as well as just the general privacy of teachers teaching in classrooms with audio and video recording. So
yeah, I think I shared with you guys, we talked about a couple of years ago, we added a big band room to one of our buildings, and it has an exterior door and it's a bunch of glass. And there was talk about adding a camera in that room, not looking at the room itself or where kids sat or currently sit. It was looking at the door from the inside to make sure that we were capturing anybody coming in or out of that door. And if something ever happened to the glass, like someone broke the glass from the inside, that it didn't take long for even that rumor to surface for several discussions to take place. And that got pulled back very, very, very quickly.
We've had, I can think of 2 districts I've worked at where it was rooms, and not by my want, but rooms where they wanted a camera in the room. It was rooms of like for discipline or for particular circumstances, whatever. So kind of similar, I think probably to this for special services given to. And one thing that sucked about that was because we're a school, so people move and rooms move.
Right.
And we had to move camera to follow person to follow department, and talk about a management pain in the butt and the whole thing. You're just asking a school and asking a tech department for a lot.
Yeah.
And then to also do proper monitoring of who's checking, if that's law, if that's whatever. Now you have to make sure that camera's working at all times, kind of thing.
Well, and then there's that whole discussion of, if your local police department has access to your cameras, do they have access to that camera? Because there's likely things that, that are protected things, education process that take place that camera can see that the police department shouldn't necessarily have full-time access to because it's considered part of the education record. Yeah, that's a whole big, messy situation.
Yeah. I'm generally opposed to cameras on someone's working environment and obviously the instructional environment. The gyms were the ugly ones for us because we needed to have cameras in gyms for after school activities. But that was a gym teacher's work environment. So those are the sticky areas. But special education classrooms, I have such a huge problem with that one. And I've worked personally in a lot of special education classrooms, and depends on the age level. There are times where there are things that you cannot have on camera. And so I'm generally concerned about the privacy of this one. But looking back into the reason for this, the state was not providing the necessary oversight into special education classrooms, and they had to make some very serious changes quickly. So it's unfortunate that they went this direction.
Now, are they giving the schools money to do this or no?
Yeah, they are. There was a law previously, just about a year ago, where a family could request a camera in a classroom, and the state allocated funds towards that. So there are state funds for this, for the cameras. But I mean, you know how things are. There's going to be upfront costs, and then 5-10 years down the road, when someone needs to replace that camera, are those funds going to be there?
Right.
Can you imagine if we requested a camera in Josh's office, and like just all throughout the day, I bet he puts his he's like,
I'd stream. You guys can watch. I don't care.
That sounds like there's a subscription model to that.
Yeah, we could sell it on the podcast. $10 a month. You can watch me work.
Well, what's next, Mark?
Yeah. This is another article that hit quite
Where's Forticate, by the way?
Yeah. Forticate got fired.
She would have had something to say.
She would have, too.
Speaking of AI, a Texas private school called Alpha School is now live and is using artificial intelligence to teach students. The students spend about 2 hours a day in class, guided by an AI tutor. The school employs what they refer to as AI guides rather than teachers to help the students understand and use these kinds of things. Now, I have a lot of things to say about this one, but I will summarize this by saying tuition for the school is between $40,000 and $50,000 annually.
Oh my
so
gosh.
This is a private school that you are paying for, and I'm gonna make a comment here. The school reports impressive results with students testing in the top 1% to 2% nationally. My comment here: are we surprised that you have a $40,000, $50,000 tuition and the top 1% of students?
Right.
I think those two are more related than this AI model.
Yeah.
But
Especially for 2.5 hours of instruction a day out of, a normal instructional day is what, 6.5-ish hours?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The students are then going into public speaking courses, financial literacy. They're still in the day for that amount of time, but 2 to 3 hours of direct instruction through AI. We'll see. We will see.
40 to 50 grand a year in tuition.
Mm-hmm. And then the last news article,
I feel like you guys aren't for that AI stuff in that scenario.
I am 100% for AI in the classroom. I am not in favor of developing models that work for a very small percentage of students and then claiming success. Last article, this one is local to us. And it's one that has gotten cheers from within my household. The Massachusetts state legislature has voted to ban cell phones today, July 31st. That then has to go to the Senate and the governor, who has also signed support. So that we'll transition into our main topic in a second, brings us to over 30. I think I've counted 33, 35 states with active cell phone policies at a statewide level. So this is it. This is the year of cell phone bans. And that was going to be our main topic in a few minutes.
Chris, you want to talk about PowerGistics?
I do want to talk about PowerGistics. We got to hang out with them at Midwest Tech Talk. For sure, Christine. We hung out with Christine at Midwest Tech Talk. Check out PowerGistics if you're thinking about buying device carts for your classrooms. And they pay attention to what schools are doing to how students touch devices and move devices and take devices off the cart. They have a lot to say, too. And we've talked about this briefly before several times. many schools reconsidering one-to-one. What does that look like? Are devices going home or are they staying? We know when back to school starts, there's often spikes of broken devices. Kids aren't used to taking care of devices. Check out their carts. If you're thinking about carts, check out PowerGistics. They're not just trying to sell you a cart. They're selling you a way to manage a classroom and to help the teacher and the student out.
So, like Mark said, it seems to be the summer, the year of cell phone bans, the age of cell phone bans. How does that translate into the classroom, or what does that mean for the classroom? What does that mean for the district in general? Does that also kind of morph into or translate into a little bit of a higher expectation for staff not being on their cell phone during the day? I know it's no secret we're dealing with this in Missouri. We have to implement, it's not a cell phone ban, it is a personal electronic device ban. So that umbrella includes cell phones, personal laptops, earbuds, smartwatches, whatever generic terms you want to use for those items. All of those items are included, and it has to be implemented fall of 25. Most of the districts around me have already published their guidance and how they'll be handling discipline going forward with this policy change. Chris, you're here in Missouri with me as well. You're kind of going through the same things. How has this discussion gone if you don't want to get uber specific for your district, but what things have you heard? How have you heard this discussion being rounded up or being implemented?
I think I have had some insight into two sides of it. So I do youth pastor stuff at my church. So I hang out with middle school, high school kids, in particular on Sundays and Wednesdays for several hours. And I have enjoyed the banter of reminding them about the ban that is coming, because they hate it. And they think they think Jesus is coming back soon, because this sounds like terrible things happening. The stuff that they get stuck on, it's not so much just the cell phone. I think they kind of saw that coming, but it's the smartwatch. It's the thoughts of the earbuds and can they or can they not have earbuds? It's the bigger picture thing when you're just saying devices. That's what the kids are trying to figure out. What's the school going to do with that? And in my youth group, I think I have for sure 3 different school districts represented, maybe 4, and the banter between each of the different social media things that the school has put out of what they've been anticipating it's going to be like when they come back to school. Although it's a Missouri thing, different verbiage and different sentences and different ways of thinking are coming out amongst the schools. So I think our kids are nervous about getting back to school and hearing what that's going to be. And then on the other side of with the admin team and what we've been telling faculty and staff, our district already said no cell phones. That's been a policy for a long time, but it's been a policy not really followed.
Right.
It's been pretty lax.
Right.
Last year it was followed more, but now, we are following it. We're going to do what it says.
Well, go ahead, Mark.
I found that most policies, they go up multiple levels to say it's almost like providing you air cover. It's to your point, Chris, it's hey, we're going to ban cell phones. And then it kind of goes down to the schools and teachers to decide how to actually implement it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like the state education departments or legislatures are almost just trying to provide air cover for schools. And then you guys are the ones trying to figure out, well, what are we doing about smartwatches? What are we doing about earbuds? Those kinds of things. Is that the feeling is in Missouri?
I don't know that the legislature was that forward thinking in Missouri to kind of do that as a favor for districts. I think they saw it as an opportunity to get good PR because, cell phones are the current evil, right? Years ago it was rock and roll, then it was rap. Yeah. Now it's cell phones. I think that's where it's coming from. It's a good reelectable item to run on. I think, at least in Missouri, the legislation calls out specific devices, cell phones, earbuds. It is very prescriptive as far as what it is referencing that is not to be used during the day. What it leaves up to the district, in my opinion, is the discipline factor. How if a kid does have this infraction between the starting bell and the ending bell of using a cell phone or getting caught with a smartwatch on, what does that mean? That, to me, that's what's left up to the district. And Chris, I think you would agree that in our little area, not too wide of an area in mid-Missouri, we're seeing that vary quite wildly. There is one district not too far from us that the second offense, you get OSS. There's another district, the second offense, you get ISS. There's another district that it's 5 gradual steps, that increase with discipline each time before you get ISS.
To clarify, OSS is out of school suspension. ISS is in school suspension.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So, and I think that's, some districts have taken the stance along the lines of, look, yes, we have to deal with this because this is law. We need to comply with this law. And like Chris, before the show, you were talking, if you have a district that's like, well, we're going to do this on paper, but we're really not going to implement this. What are you modeling for your kids?
Yeah, I think there's great banter about, I think our school district, we say something about, as most, like we're preparing students for successful lives. And part of that, I mean, you end up, high schools teach sociology and psychology, and you learn how to work with people and all that stuff. And hopefully there's some ethics that you start to figure out in your life before you graduate high school. So if a school is like uber lax and they're like, well, it's Missouri law, but we're not really going to do it, that's some conversation, and that's some big thinking stuff in a middle schooler's head or in a high schooler's head. If we're just writing off law like it's nothing, that matters to me, right? Like I want my school to teach my kid how to be a good citizen. And all schools say that. So if you're a school that's like, well, we're not really going to do it, you're teaching the kid something, whether you know that you're teaching them something or not.
And so along that same lines of modeling that behavior, an item that's come up for discussion among these districts that are implementing this is, okay, what's this really mean for staff? We're not going to come out and say that staff can't have cell phones, but if you're telling students they can't have any personal electronic device, if a teacher is seen out on the playground during recess duty, they're supposed to be monitoring playing on their playground, and they've got their nose in their cell phone, what is that teacher modeling? So that I know there are districts having that conversation of what does this mean to a teacher or at the teacher level? And that's a weird conversation to have because, we've pushed MFA and are expecting teachers to use their cell phones as that second factor. So you can't really say you can't use your cell phone. But where's that weird line in this conversation? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting that at least the districts that I know of, they're all taking it serious because it is law. They don't want to be the one caught saying, we're ignoring this or we're not really going to do this. I do find it also interesting that a number of districts are posting their policy and that graduated discipline plan on Facebook. And the feedback from parents has been interesting. Chris, have you seen much feedback or heard much feedback from parents in this?
So my district has not posted on social media, and I'm going to take a guess that they didn't because they saw my neighbor's post, and there was some comments that weren't that great. I mean, stuff, and you can see the parent side, maybe not agree with it, but parent. Well, so there's all the talk of states passing like the Parent Bill of Rights with the student and all this stuff.
Sure.
And yeah, if you're a parent and you want your kid to have a cell phone at school, a lot of those comments are like, my kid's going to have their phone at school. Well, no, they're not. That's some interesting stuff to unpack.
Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry. I was just going to say some of the graduated discipline steps that I've observed around us is at some point, if a kid keeps having their cell phone out or not putting it away in the locker, whatever, that at some point the parent gets engaged to come in and get that cell phone. Like the cell phone gets confiscated by the principal. the parent is called and asked to come get the cell phone. So, Chris, to your point, if you have a parent saying, you don't have to worry about this rule, I want you to have your cell phone on you, at some point that parent's going to be called in for that disciplinary action as well.
So the interesting thing is I was trying to research what states are doing what, and it's very hard to kind of categorize them because a lot of states have different terminology or different expectations, but the more common approach now has been a bell-to-bell ban. So that's what we have, or it's going to have in Massachusetts. It's what you guys are going to have, where kids cannot have a cell phone at all during the school day. I think it was about 25 states that I counted at the least that have implemented at the state level a bell-to-bell ban. I feel like that's the better approach because it kind of takes the guesswork out of teachers and implementation. Principals just have to say to kids and families, we can't see it. If we see it, we have to take it, or here comes the discipline. There are a lot of schools, though, that have, a growing number of states also have just a classroom ban. And that gets me a little bit nervous because then you're putting so much of the onus on the teacher to enforce it. So the kids can have it during passing periods, or they can have it at lunch or in gym, but they can't have it in math or ELA. I get it. I get that kind of appeases both sides, but then it's up to every single individual teacher to enforce it. And that's a really, really hard thing to do. And it puts all that anger from a parent back on the teacher's shoulders.
Well, in a lot of cases, you're pitting teacher against teacher too, because some teachers are going to take it more serious than others, or implement it in a more serious fashion than others. And then all of a sudden, Mrs. Smith is the bad guy and Mr. Jones is cool because he doesn't collect our phones and doesn't care if we have them out. Where, like, to your point, Mark, if it's a start of day bell, end of day bell ban, you should not have it at all during the day, period. So that grayness is gone.
Yeah, I think if I'm the legislator that is wanting this to happen, I think I would have to land on bell to bell, because if you're trying to fix this thing that is happening to kids because they're addicted to cell phones, if it's every 50 minutes, I can get my dose or whatever you want to say. Yeah, you're not really fixing anything. Bell to bell has the chance of fixing some of that mental stuff going on. Because you're going to adjust to that you don't have a cell phone during the day at all. But if every 50 minutes, or I can say I got to go to the bathroom and so I can get on my snap or whatever, like, I think that doesn't really do what you're trying to fix.
And I'm sure there's going to be, there will be a trend of increased visits to the bathroom, hoping that I can run to the locker real quick, do my combination, grab my phone, go to the bathroom, get it back. There's going to be a little bit of that. Granted, my high school students haven't used lockers in probably 6 or 7 years. They just carry their backpacks with them all over the place. So this will be the first time that the lockers have been used in mass in probably 7 years.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The only kids that had lockers for the last 5-6 years anyway have been athletes, because they have, workout clothes and stuff, bags, whatever, shoes that they stash in lockers. The vast majority of the high school kids do not request lockers, and it's not required to put your backpack in there. So that's going to be a huge shift for our students. Something that I haven't really heard talked about is, should there be supports for students who, because if we're really doing this and calling this a cell phone addiction, should there be some sort of support for students as we're going through that detox? That first week of school, that first 8 hours, that first day of school, and you got all these twitchy high school kids because they haven't touched their phone in 6 hours. Like, should there be things in place to assist with supporting that? Does that question make?
Yeah,
guys,
for sure.
You understand that? I don't know that that's been discussed anywhere or by any. I mean, if it is, it hasn't been publicly discussed, I should say.
There's a couple of states doing something like that. Pennsylvania didn't necessarily do a cell phone ban, but they did an incentive program where you can actually get funding for cell phone free environments. So they've actually put it into their school safety and mental health program. And so this is they're connecting cell phone usage or bans to the mental health programs. And so if you're applying for a grant, you can now add like those Yonder pouches into the mental health grant to help. So at least, I mean, there are some states that are, while they couldn't go with a ban, they're saying, hey, look, we do realize that there's a huge mental health connection to this one. And so we're going to actually provide funding and incentives for schools to do this. So not directly in what you're saying, Josh, but it at least shows that there are states trying to connect cell phone bans to the mental health challenges that students are going through. I think Delaware is a very similar one.
And I'll be curious too if there's an uptick on like kids emailing each other,
yes,
or using district provided resources to communicate with each other.
Yes,
I'll be curious if that goes up.
You know, we were talking about that the other Tuesday about, you know, coaches communicating with athletes during the day, like if it's storming out and practice needs to change or something, how do they get that message to the kids? And it's like, email. All of our coaches have access to email. They can email their athletes. Like that shouldn't be a question. Mm-hmm. And so that, to your point, Chris, that got into a discussion of, does that mean students are actually going to start checking their email now? Because they don't they get into Google, they use Classroom, you know, they do all that stuff, but very, very rarely are they actively checking their email.
Well, we had a problem with chat. We had chat turned on during the pandemic because kids needed to chat back and forth. And then when we came back to school, it was like, okay, enough is enough. We got to get rid of this. It's more of a problem now. And then kids would just create a Google Doc, and then that's their personal chat room. So
yes,
yeah, you're right, Josh. Like you have to invest time and money into the mental health resources and supports for kids. Otherwise, the problem just transfers from cell phones to Google Docs to email to other kinds of.
And honestly, I think we're almost touching on something that even when I think about the social media stuff that's been put out by, and I guess I'm talking about my neighbors, but I don't know that schools are doing a great job about communicating the why. We're almost doing the thing that techs do all the time is we just like, hey, we're blocking it and we don't understand the why. I think that's going to be a really important piece. Again, and actually, I'll call myself out when I'm talking to my middle school or high school youth group. I haven't explained any of the why. I just cracked the jokes that we're banning this thing and like I move on. That's interesting, right? Like, I think schools need to do a good job with that.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be real.
Yeah. Well, if you're not thinking about this, you better, because I could only find in my research, I could only find 3 or 4 states that do not have any sort of legislation or pending legislation on cell phone bans. So at this point, you might as well just have a federal thing because now you got 50 different flavors of cell phone bans. But that's it. We'll see. We'll see what happens when this takes effect. Ours doesn't take effect until next school year. So unfortunately, we've got another year of hemming and hawing. But good luck to you guys this year.
Yeah, it's going to be what we start here in about 18 days. It's going to be I think the first couple of days of school are going to be real interesting. It's going to be but like I was talking to somebody earlier today, it's like fast forward 6 months. I would imagine the culture, the climate of the buildings, the interaction with students, the engagement of students in the classroom on a daily basis is going to be night and day different than what it is or what it was last year. You know, you had constantly had kids walking down the hall with what are the earbuds called from Apple? AirPods.
Yep.
Everybody was wearing them in the hall, listening to music. That's not going to be a thing anymore. They're actually going to have conversations at lunch. They're going to have to talk to each other. They're not going to be watching Netflix and watching Friends reruns over lunch or when they're done with their assignments in class. It's going to be as much of a heavy lift for our teachers, you know, changing how they instruct and how they engage kids as it is for the kids giving up that electronic device.
The new world is here.
Well, apparently end times are here, you said. Or at least your students think that.
Yeah. That was quite a big leap.
Yeah, that was a way to start the episode. End times are here, people.
Hey, smartphones.
All right. Any final thoughts, guys, on cell phone bans or what you hope to see? Awesome. Good work.
I'm just going to stare at my cell phone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're a staff member. You don't have to. The ban doesn't apply to you, Mark.
Hey, let it be on the record. I'm going to start engaging with you guys more when you text me.
I don't believe that.
I'm going to try harder.
All right. Well, give us some feedback. Shoot us an email, k12techtalk@gmail.com. Share us with your friends. Shout out to Delaware. Like this last month, the last, I think, 2 weeks of the month, you guys knocked California off our top listener list, which is very difficult to do. So hats off to Delaware and everybody listening over there on the East Coast. I think you're probably friends of Mark's or something. You're awful close to Mark over there.
Is Delaware considered New England?
Oh, here we go.
No.
Sorry, Delaware.
Listen,
Mark, you're not in the cool club, Delaware. Mark won't let you in.
It's a very defined list of states, and Connecticut waffles back and forth. But other than that, it's a very defined list of states that are in the New England region. Delaware, no, I'm sorry. You one of the 13 colonies, I'll give them that, but not New England.
Kudos for starting it, but then Massachusetts took the party and kept it going.
I know all the hundreds of people from Delaware who are listening right now will be like, "We're not New England."
Very touchy subject for Mark, apparently. I know I insulted him by, I don't remember who it was, saying was New England, and you jumped all over me that
You're like,
day.
is Alabama New England?
No, I did not.
North Carolina.
I think it might have been North Carolina. All right. Well, if you want more geography tips, don't listen to us, but shoot us an email over at K12TechTalk@gmail.com. Share it.
Hey, my
with your
wife
friends.
one time thought that Alaska and Hawaii were near each other because usually on the map they are.
Oh, my.
Put that on the record.
Should we stop this episode before we
Oh,
hear?
Yeah, she's going to hate that.
She's
Cut
gonna
it,
hurt
cut
his
you.
wife.
Cut.
She's going to hurt you. Mark, that's the intro right there.
Yeah, cut this one.
See you guys.
All right. We'll see you next week.
See you
Thanks
guys
for
in 3
listening.
weeks.
We might not be the same. You share the same pain that I do.
The views and opinions expressed on the K12 Tech Talk podcast are the personal opinions of Josh, Chris, and Mark, and do not represent the views or opinions of our sponsors or other organizations that we're affiliated with. The material and information presented here is for general information and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.